After acquiring several smaller Cajun restaurant chains in the late 1990s, Popeyes was struggling to create a cohesive company image. Other major chicken chains in the South, like KFC, Cane's, and Chick-fil-A, flooded the marketplace and made it difficult for Popeyes to stand out. However, in part due to the guidance of a certain consulting group, Popeyes now stands as one of the most recognizable and adored Cajun restaurant chains in the States. Let me tell you a little bit about us. Connoisseur Restaurant Consulting was formed in 1996 in Western Georgia as a merging of several smaller consulting firms. Each of us had different focuses before, but now we've kind of formed together into one purpose, and that is making your restaurant better. Our team is made up of industry professionals. Many of us used to be local or small business owners, so we're always by small business for small business. That's kind of our focus. The experience we've gained from building from the ground up has really helped us gain an unrivaled understanding of what's necessary to foster growth on a small scale. But also, as you kind of grow your business larger and maybe even get to someday the size of Popeyes, we can help significantly with your sort of journey there. Our perspectives are many, but our team's overall focus has always been the same, which is customer first and small business first. Now, we mainly take a look at Cajun restaurants in Georgia. We've gone outside of that some, but recently our focus has tried to be mainly Cajun restaurants. We specifically choose that market sector because we have a really good understanding of it, and we really hone that understanding by spending a lot of time with restaurant owners. We want to make sure that our advice is always pertinent to your demographic, so we focus on Cajun restaurants alone right now. We've provided, in addition to advice, we've provided marketing and communications to some of the largest Cajun chains in the South. We worked with Popeyes between 2006 and 2015. That's some of our more well-known work. And we helped cement its place as kind of an industry giant, especially among Cajun chains and chicken chains in the South. So our focus, even though we worked with Popeyes before, we've always been a local and artisan consulting group. When we worked with Popeyes, they weren't nearly as big as they are now. We separated from them in order to work better with independent chains. I'm Cassidy of Connoisseur Restaurant Consulting. I'm an associate marketing consultant with background in local and union-run restaurants and bakeries. I may not have quite as much experience with Cajun restaurants, but my team has been very supportive about that, and we're very focused on moving towards Cajun restaurants in the future. I have some experience consulting for open source software projects and union auto plants as well. My industrial knowledge is a little more broad than just restaurants and bakeries, but I've always been very much worker focused, small business focused, cooperatives especially. You can be certain that my advice will always be pertinent to any business who wants to place their workers first and focus on customer service and customer-employee relationships. A happy worker, I've found, always means better customer service. So better training of your workers, better attitudes around workers is always going to improve your outcomes. So at the restaurant that I'm looking at right now, and I'd like to discuss today, has had a bit of a mixed review with their wait staff recently, and I think some better training and overall better focus on the workers and customer-employee relationships might help that. So over the past few weeks, the restaurant I've been researching is a Cajun restaurant in Douglasville, Georgia. It's called Gumbo's. It's a Cajun cafe. It's locally owned, and it has quite the reputation in the community. It's extremely well known as being some of the most authentic and delicious Cajun food in the area. It's also one of the few independently owned Cajun restaurants in the area, where KFC and Popeyes and all these larger chicken chains just dominate the area. Douglasville has a large number of these chain restaurants. Really, Gumbo's is also competing with Olive Garden and Cracker Barrel and places like this that aren't strictly Cajun food, but they appeal to the same demographics, and they're just very popular as family restaurants. Other Louisiana kitchens are a little bit more usually family-focused, and Gumbo's has always been more towards providing an authentic experience. Gumbo's customers love the casual, family-friendly environment and the Louisiana authentic recipes and the speedy service. Gumbo's also has a pretty good reputation recently of dealing with the COVID-19 outbreak very safely and as best as they possibly could. A lot of the customers and clients we saw on online review sites were agreeing with this and really appreciating the effort they put into it. You can see in some of the reviews here that a lot of people have just the reputation precedes them. They come here specifically because they hear the food is fantastic and the service is great, and they walk away very satisfied. Unfortunately, a number of clients, especially recently, have left really scathing reviews, specifically in regards to the interactions they had with waitstaff, as well as the quality of the food. You'll see a couple of people here really were just not impressed by the food. They were disgusted by it, surprised, and shocked that the reputation of the restaurant just didn't match up at all with what the service they expected. So, because we're getting a whole lot of positive reviews and a whole lot of negative reviews, and there's no obvious trend one way or another, I would say this is mostly an issue of consistency right now, especially in recent years, which I'd like to talk about. So as you can see, there's been a bit of a concerning downward trend recently, especially these two users I wanted to point out. Both of them commented on Yelp, and one of them said that it used to be the best, but they had bad service the last two times and they'll never go anymore. So you can see there's kind of that trend of it used to be great service, fantastic service, and it's kind of gone downhill in their eyes. Another person said a downhill slide, and it used to be the good restaurant, the best restaurant around, and it's gotten a lot more mediocre recently. So I would say probably a issue with management there is causing the sort of the food quality not necessarily to get worse, but to get less consistent. And especially in modern days when so many people base their experience off of, or base whether they go to a restaurant at all, on other people's experience on review sites, it's really, really paramount to make sure that you have consistency in your food quality, or, 1 in 100 bad meals is going to end up causing bad reviews showing up on your site. So just as a bit of an overview, I think that Gumbo's has an excellent food quality overall, and their service is, by all accounts, fantastic. But inconsistency is really starting to damage that local legend status. It may not be new that this inconsistency is popping up, but the fact that there's a lot of negative reviews appearing and not many responses from Gumbo's management staff, it paints a negative picture that a lot of people, especially people traveling from out of town or people who haven't been there in a long time, might look there first and start to reconsider whether they want to visit at all. I want to make sure that this kind of review, which is pretty easy to take care of, but you have to dedicate time to it. I want to make sure that that's not wreaking havoc on this reputation that this restaurant has built up over so many years. So as for recommendations, one of the opportunities I see is that Gumbo's should double down on customer service and focus absolutely on preserving that reputation. They have this fantastic reputation, and that's really driving a lot of people in that wouldn't have otherwise visited, but they really need to focus on customer service because customer service is going to affect that reputation directly. That's really the one thing. Customer service and food quality are going to be the driving forces behind preserving that reputation, because it only takes, one important VIP customer to come in, see that the food is crap for their one, individual experience, and then leave a negative review, and you have to deal with that for potentially years afterwards, the effects that's going to have. So focusing first on training waitstaff and making sure that everybody is fully aware of the fact that their personal actions as a waiter or as a chef will affect the reputation of the restaurant, and they're certainly carrying that on their shoulders. Making sure that people are aware of this, maybe even paying for a proper consulting course or a training course to make sure that everyone is on the same page and all your waitstaff are fully trained up and aware of the issues that might pop up if they treat a customer rudely or inconsiderately. Also having faster service and making sure that people sort of get a waiter when they need them and be able to express those concerns. Maybe something like a button for tables so that they could make sure that a waiter comes and fields the complaint immediately without any sort of delay there where it can fester and then make them just not want to mention it at all and just leave a review later. So there's only so much you can do to stop people from leaving bad reviews. You can't force people to do anything. So when those reviews get left on sites like Yelp and Google, someone needs to be there to take care of them immediately. Um, I think it's also really important to make sure that good reviews get responses. Make sure that you thank the people. Um, I've noticed a couple of them got responses on the Gumbo's Google website, but especially on Google Maps, but most of them on Yelp and Zomato and a whole lot of other review sites didn't have any responses at all from any management staff. Um, I think it would be extremely beneficial to your company to make sure that any reviews, whether positive or negative, anything that has sort of a relevance to your company immediately gets responded to in a courteous and kind manner, and our consultant group can help with that. A lot of what we do is deal with smaller independent companies that don't have an online presence yet, and as long as Gumbo's has been around, it really ought to have a strong, established online presence to help with this. Now, of course, there are some threats currently standing in the way of making sure that all of these goals are achieved. I think there's a really big risk of overconfidence, especially for Gumbos, because this reputation is so paramount and important to Gumbo's success that it would be very easy to sort of fall into complacency with that and expect that people will just leave negative reviews, but it's not a big deal because you still have this huge log of positive reviews, and more importantly than that, you have understanding in the community that the restaurant is fantastic and always has been fantastic. And while I agree that that is great to have, word of mouth and stuff like that is really good for making sure that return customers keep coming back. The service industry moves very quickly, and any sort of sign of weakness like that is going to get taken advantage of, and any restaurant that falls out of favor in the community is immediately going to be displaced by, for instance, Gabe's Downtown or another, KFC. So it's very possible that another restaurant would take that place if you show any sign of weakness there. It's really important to not become, way too confident with that reputation and make sure that you continue to focus on reducing the number of bad reviews and just pushing out any doubts in people's minds that the restaurant's going downhill or anything like that. I think another significant threat is the risk of losing repeat customers. I mentioned that, but I think Gumbo's is a little too focused on repeat customers and not as much on out-of-town tourism. Out-of-town tourism is vital in order for your company to stay profitable over time. Douglasville, the area, is growing, so you have a lot of new people coming in and a lot of people who are interested in trying the local cuisine. They're not always going to be relying on word of mouth and talking to residents who already have been to Gumbo's. A lot of their choice in visiting Gumbo's is going to be based off of online reviews again. So I think there's a significant risk of losing repeat customers if you don't double down and focus on those online reviews. I think it's pretty vital to making sure that you both keep your existing customers as well as attract newer customers from out of town, because there's going to be a whole lot more of those over the coming years. So, just as an overview to go back over this and make sure we understand, Gumbo's has a very strong reputation. They have authentic recipes and they have excellent COVID-19 response, but some of these issues with online reviews have been overlooked over time. So, because of the recent sort of downwards trend we're seeing on review sites, I think it's super, super crucial that Gumbo's management staff refocus and double down on customer service and also make sure that they respond to these negative reviews in a timely manner and give them whatever is necessary to sort of resolve the situation and get rid of these negative reviews. It's even though even though Gumbo's is very prestigious, it's pretty important to make sure that they don't lose this reputation. So we have the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats here. Um, these may be helpful as kind of an overall understanding of the issues that might be experienced. So, in conclusion, we in Connoisseur Restaurant Consulting believe that the review management team and the process there is an integral part of the customer service excellence expectation that has been set for restaurants, especially independent restaurants in recent years. Managing online reviews, whether internally or through a consulting group, should be uh, immediately addressed, or rather, it should be handled on a daily basis and never let it slip through the cracks there. You need to immediately address any negative reviews and make sure that any positive reviews are appreciated and thanked, and build up that reputation as in an online presence as well as your one that you already have established in person. Um, if you ensure that that happens, then it's really going to help, especially build up a newer customer base of people who are moving to town recently. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that the recommendations that I made today can be helpful to your business. Um, if you'd like to further discuss how we can help, how our consulting firm could maybe assist you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our contact information is listed on the right side of this slide. We'll also be sending out a free tote bag, so if you want one of those, make sure you keep an eye out for an email regarding that in the next few days. If you'd like to continue our conversation regarding the future of your business and you want to make sure you get me, just ask for Cassidy when you contact us. Thank you again for your time.